watching a thing because not Fable, Chrono here is a fan of FNAF. Until Fable's muscles start working again, because he is unfortunately out and about. He's too sore right now. Anyway.
He can't.
More or less. Because the next episode of Fallout Sunburst is out, but unfortunately he's not here, so we can't watch it with him, because I know he would love to. But, yeah. Anyway. We're going to head into this. I don't know what to expect, but I think Bumbles McFumbles dropped the mic just a second ago. Let me just make sure I got it completely at 0. Because, you know, it's something... Started at 30, so he'll spend most of the younger years training. Yeah, it is kind of weird. Anyway. We're going to head to this. Get ready for all the craziness. It's still not 0, but that's annoying me. Anyway. We're going into this. Oh. Is he punching the door?
How you doing? Lovely weather we're having. Yeah, if you focus real hard, you can almost see the dead people through the thick fog. Am I in hell? Purgatory? Chicago?
Oh.
It doesn't really matter because they don't understand the Five Nights at Freddy's time.
What'd you say, Chrono?
I'd say he was probably smacking his head on his desk.
Probably.
That's what the FNAF timeline will do to you.
Yeah, he said he's complaining about the FNAF timeline, so yeah, there's gonna be a new FNAF game soon, so y'all gonna see more. Wonderful! Will the man ever stop making these games? He's already a millionaire or something.
Well, it's not even him now, it's Steel Wool.
I know, but the original guy is still probably getting money from it.
Oh, probably.
Anyway.
Timeline here either. Let this be a cautionary tale about setting your expectations too low. Pretty soon you start getting upset that too much good stuff is happening to you. Tone it back, guys, and earn some disappointment. I've had so much fun sowing day and night, but nobody warned me I had to reap it all. I had a perfect head count of my chickens a few days ago, but then they hatched, and well, that's a spreadsheet I won't ever use again. Don't know why I'm in an idiom mood today. Because I'm the biggest idiom in the whole room. I had a chance to not talk about this franchise, and not only did I invite evil into my home, I let you all open the door. Have you seen what talking about Five Nights at Freddy's does to a person? You can name all the animatronics? Cool! Did you know that counts as aggravated assault?
Assault. Oh, that's a really good one. So does that mean I can technically sue Chrono for aggravated assault? Most of the games are making her Steel Wool now. But yeah, these are cards that I think, since you like Five Nights at Freddy's, you'll like. These are the Fright Furs. Basically, they're a combination of the Fluffle cards and the Edge Imps to make the Fright Furs. Basically, it's an edgy like scissor or chain monster fused with a plushie. And then they make these things.
Oh, that's cool.
Like Fluffle Tiger. Oh, wait till you see Frightful Chimera. Yeah, Fable doesn't like him. He likes only the Fluffles, and he hates the Edge Imps and the Fright Furs.
I don't know why. They're just like oddly cute.
Well, this one isn't. Frightful Lion. There's also Wolf and Sabretooth. Maybe I'll play them against Fable one day. Yeah. There's a lot of them. Oh, I didn't realize they got more. Ooh. There's also Chimera, which I don't think he shows here.
So how exactly do you handle the Five Nights at Freddy's storyline? I have some experience handling hornets' nests, that might help. Freddy fans are a different breed. Get the number of buttons on Nightmare Fredbear's chest wrong and you find out how easy it is to mail a pipe bomb. Hours and hours of theorizing go into making the most benign statements about this franchise, and anything less than rock-hard evidence is thrown right out. That makes it very hard for someone like me without encyclopedic knowledge of the franchise to keep up. And with encyclopedic knowledge, it turns out that's not enough.
Wait,
Everyone
what?
knows this plot is convoluted. When I said that
that's an actual thing?
Yep, as an actual book that Scott Cawthon came out with.
I do want to kind of laugh that his name is Scott Cawthon, of all things. But yeah, besides that point, Oh, wow. I didn't think... I knew the franchise had gotten big, but I didn't realize it has gotten that big.
There's like 11 actual books.
I know there's an actual movie now, with that one dude from the movie Zathura in it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's like 11 books now.
There's 11! And multiple encyclopedias. Why? Okay.
To tackle it, I didn't so much get support as I did an outpouring of grief. I think we need to step back for a second and realize something. Something we all try to deny, but is undoubtedly true.
Oh, yeah.
They're all wrong.
What?
How many books does the Five Nights at Freddy's series have?
Oh, that's what you're doing.
Here's an answer from barnesandnoble.com.
That's not right. Hang on.
Alright. He's doing it.
Continue.
Okay.
We're just varying degrees of wrong. Some of us are within inches of figuring it out. Some of us think Gregory is a robot. In a series as adverse to explanation as this one, we can only ever just vaguely gesture in the direction of concrete facts. If we just accept that there's only one guy with any correct answers, we can all be a lot happier. Oh, and before we get into things, let's reenact my favorite feel-good story, Fahrenheit 451, and burn these books. The Devil owns a publishing company, and he makes Five Nights at Freddy's books. If we start letting these things count for the canon of the games, we're gonna have to reckon with time-traveling ball pits and male impregnation a lot sooner than we would all like to.
Wait, what?
Fazgoo. You. Anyway, this is the Five Nights at Freddy's timeline as I choose to understand it. If I'm wrong, please let me know in as violent a way as possible how I'm wrong about a story that you are also
like
definitely
30 books that he wrote.
Anyway, back to it, I guess. This is still like slowly straining my energy.
So things start out peachy
well, actually,
between
41
business partners William Afton and Henry Emily, who work together on Fredbear's Family Diner.
The restaurant succeeds in spite of it. And, all that.
It's horrifying characters and manages to become a hit, getting merchandise, television shows, and has generally taken over a small rural American town. It's so successful it manages to franchise out to a secondary location, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Oh sure, Grimace can't get his own restaurant, but Freddy gets one. Not everything's perfect in Pizza Paradise, however, as William Afton has 3 whole children, all of whom will be dead within the next 2 weeks. There's eldest brother Michael, middle daughter Elizabeth, and runt of the litter Crying Child. He's one of the most important characters in the entire story, and these lazy bums still haven't named him. He's terrified of the pizzeria because he has a functioning brain and doesn't want to go.
Unfortunately, how to name him yet.
They haven't named him yet?
Well, they have named the Crying Child and Golden Freddy, but, or at least the spirit inside Golden Freddy, but the community can't decide on which of the names is actually canon. There's been 3 names that's been tossed out so far. Evan, Dave, and Garrett. Which Garrett is the name of the child in the movie.
Alright. 3 names.
Which is Mike's younger brother in the movie. But I believe in the Dave theory.
The fact that there's theories behind these names is what's crazy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So only way to solve anything in the series.
Wonderful.
His dad owns the restaurant, he can rent it out for free, and that's where his birthday party's gonna be. Using that fact, his older brother Michael decides to torment him by screaming in his face. He's not even clever about it, that's what I'm upset about. Crying Child's only friend in the whole wide world is his dad, who talks to him through a plush with a walkie-talkie in it because he's too busy making psycho murder robots from the future in his underground laboratory. Also, either William Afton built the plushie to scurry around town behind Crying Child whenever he's not looking, or he's planted upwards hordes of 30 or 40 plushies all around this small town.
Wow.
Not only is he being tormented by his older brother in the real world, he's also getting his ass beat in the dream world too, because every night he's tormented by nightmares of Freddy and the gang.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of debate over who the main character of this game is, but if it's Michael, who I peg as maybe 14 or 15, why does he still have playphones and robots all over the ground? And why is he at eye level with the doorknob? His room doesn't line up with the one from the in-between night minigames? Motherfucker, none of them do. So you spend night after night being hunted down by spike mares
Michael
and
is the
spend day
purple
after...
dude we see at the end of Sister Location, the purple.
Yeah.
Oh my. We basically theorize that the first dollar of Afton is already dead. That's why the crying child hates the pizzeria so much.
Day getting thrown into toilets. Life sucks. That's all until night 5, and with the big day just one sleep away, Freddy and his friends hit the bricks as Big Bad Fredbear comes to take a bite out of you. Then on day 5, he really takes a bite out of you. Michael and his friends drag Crying Child to a makeshift guillotine by shoving him into Fredbear's mouth until he splits like a watermelon. Then going forward, night 6 and Nightmare Mode have you playing as Michael since you just recreated a Gallagher bit with your baby brother's skull and you start feeling a little guilty.
Of course.
Oh, and these three? The other 3 that are responsible for killing Crying Child? Yeah, they kind of just get on with their lives. Stop moping. Crying Child's death hits the whole family hard. Michael is traumatized, Afton goes bananas.
That is known as the bite of 83.
Not the bite of 87.
No.
Wonderful.
Nothing.
Totally different things.
Impressionable young Elizabeth thinks that getting murdered by robots is a cool thing to do now. Since he's business partners with Henry Emily.
The TV in the game.
Oh.
The Fredbear and Friends cartoon. Yeah. That's how people got the 1983 out of it. But then again, there was a whole big old debate. But it'd be basically impossible if the Crying Child was the bite of 83 or 87. Because the person who got bitten in 87 is still alive, according to the first game. Because the only thing he lost was his frontal lobe.
Decides to throw all the blame onto him for a robot cracking his son's head like a walnut. Out of retribution, Afton traps Henry's daughter Charlotte outside the other location, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and chokeslams her so hard that she splits in half. While all this is happening, the security puppet that watches over the place is undone because somebody put a box on top of the box that it lives in. This was the only line of defense for the entire building. The puppet's noble soul lets it crawl out to its own death to comfort this dead or dying child as Charlotte ends up possessing the puppet. Or if later in the series is to be believed, she coughed up some remnant into its mouth. Since this is the same puppet that is used throughout the whole series, it's safe to assume that some guy had to go out into the alleyway, kick the dead kid off the puppet, and toss it back in its box. This starts a trend of people in the Five Nights at Freddy's universe being horrible at spotting dead bodies. As if the night couldn't get any worse, on his way back home from his first intentional murder, Afton finds out he's not even purple anymore. Silver lining though, Michael ran away, so maybe he doesn't have to deal with him anymore. To take his mind off the dead kids that are almost certainly his own fault, and definitely his own fault, he decides to wipe the slate clean and start over again, creating a third animatronic-based restaurant, Circus Baby's Pizza World. Likes murdering kids, loves cheap Italian food. While loitering outside of Freddy Fazbear's, remembering when he had 3 alive children instead of a dead child, a soon-to-be-dead child, and a dead-to-him child, Afton notices something. That stupid puppet that Henry is so obsessed with is twitching and moving in odd ways, which he realizes means it's possessed. While stroking the mustache he probably had, Afton realizes there's actually benefits to child slaughter. He decides to build his new animatronics with the capacity to murder children on their own and store their dead bodies so he could experiment on them in his funny underground lab. He made the Funtime animatronics before Tickle Me Elmo was invented. Didn't take long either for them to murder their first kid. Yes. Which was one of Afton's.
No! Wait, which one?
Elizabeth.
No!
Sadly for Afton, this is America.
Oh my god.
For which one?
We killed the children for
Wasn't it like
sadistic
Elizabeth's favorite?
Do what?
Wasn't Elizabeth the favorite?
I guess so.
Well, it is Daddy's little girl type bit, so I guess so.
Yeah, he set these things to kill children, not his children, because he still technically liked them. But it turned out that
Setting up past like their offspring.
Afton used the souls of the kidnapped children to make more soul metal,
Can we
which is a 40k thing, I feel like, because what the hell. Hello, Fable.
Hello, I'm here to suffer, my lord.
I
Hey,
told you
sweetie.
could have rested, but you don't listen to me.
Oh, you don't listen.
Yes, I do. You just
The
were.
Lord has summoned me, and I shall suffer for him.
Oh my god. That's not even close to correct.
It is correct.
No, because for one, I am nowhere good enough to be a god. Two,
You said you were a god.
you said
I
the
referred to
Lord
you
had
as a
summoned you,
king,
and
you
I'm the
boy.
one, who technically
Oh, yeah.
summoned you.
Hi, Fable.
I grown up. But yeah, apparently, friggin' that's also something they used to call kings.
Oh,
People in power, yeah, but Jesus,
oh my god.
you
Go
know much.
FNAF stuff.
I just said that I don't have an ego, and then you say that. What?
Yeah, he has an ego, chat. I'm sorry.
my
You have to
God.
find out like this.
Listen, I have too much trauma to have an ego.
Trauma ego.
Trauma ego? That sounds like a
Might be
kicked
a
puppy.
thing, to be honest. It might be a thing. To be honest, I don't know enough about psychology to know if that's a thing or not.
Anyway.
Treat child murder the same way we treat baseball. 3
Whoa.
strikes and you're out.
What?
Circus Baby's Pizza World shuts down immediately afterwards
I
as all
wonder
the
why.
fun times are shelved and stuffed into the bunker. But
Sounds about
not
right.
before noticing that Baby was totally possessed by his now dead daughter.
Sounds
This
about
dead
right.
child is the last straw for William's unnamed wife, who takes Michael and hits the bricks, which sends William
about
spiraling
right.
even further.
Of course it
However,
does.
since both the puppet and Baby were possessed,
it's
it
very
gets him
unstable, to put
thinking.
nicely.
If
Of course
just
it
one
was.
soul was able to possess a robot, who knows what he could do with a bunch more?
Oh,
Literally,
no.
who knows? He has no way of knowing how this system works, but is gonna try to make it work anyway.
Of course he
William
is.
proceeds to go full Metal Gear Rising on a small
What?
class's worth of children. He just slaughters a, to this day, indeterminate amount of children anywhere
To
between
this
5
day.
and a baker's dozen. He's able to get away with all this by luring children to a back room and by using a disguise where he dresses up in a spring-lock
Of
suit
course.
which can be changed from animatronic to costume at the turn of a crank. If any
Oh.
malfunction occurs or the person wearing it thinks too hard, they are torn apart and rendered into a fine red paste.
Yeah,
This much is
pretty
proven
much.
by these two, who are
Oh.
probably people who died in spring-lock failures. Why
Oh.
yes, Spring Bonnie is not Toy Bonnie. No, there is no explanation. Was it too
Okay.
much to just get a second costume made? Spring-lock suits are the dumbest
Yeah,
idea
well, that
ever.
sounds
The only
fully
thing
dead.
dumber is
Yeah.
children, because Afton manages to lure tons back into the storage room of Freddy Fazbear's and give them all pile drivers. He
Yeah,
says it's to
sounds
discover
about
the
right.
secrets of Remnant, but considering the fact that there are straight-up dead bodies all over the place, I'm gonna
Yeah.
say he's gone crazy by this point.
Of course
the
he
puppet,
has.
understandably miffed after having been killed and seeing the same guy running around doing it again, decides to revive at least some of the children into the crew of
Some?
animatronics left lying around after a rebranding. Freddy,
Oh.
Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, and Spring Freddy, or Golden Freddy, would get stuffed with
Yep.
dead kids
Oh.
and until the place reopened, would just sort of sit
So
around
there
in
is
the
a
back.
theory about,
Meanwhile, Afton starts to get
The Golden Freddy killer, or the Golden Freddy kill.
Mm.
Apparently, for that one, some people have theorized that, this is going to sound freaking horrifying too, that William Afton literally stuffed the last kid into the Golden Freddy suit and let the Springlocks just slowly kill them.
Oh. Well, that's horrifying.
That's why the spirit inside Golden Freddy is actually the vengeful spirit.
Okay.
a little antsy knowing that Baby's stuck down in his bunker and decides to bust her out. I mean, he's not
Okay.
gonna do it himself. He's busy, got places to be,
Oh.
children to murder, so he's gotta get somebody else to do it. Now, the contacts left in his phone
wrestling.
whose children he hasn't murdered is getting pretty small, so he really only has one option left.
Oh.
He wants Michael to go down there and get Baby out, since he actually likes
Oh.
that kid. Michael's so traumatized by this point that the promise of some sort of paternal love gets him up and into that hole quick as a
Oh,
whippet.
wow.
Between murdering his only daughter and now, William Afton also managed to make a robotics company that would rent out the fun times to various locations for birthday parties
Worst idea.
and presumably eat even more children. Let's just chalk up William's kill count as every child on planet Earth until we can determine otherwise.
Yeah.
So Michael gets
What the
down into the
hell?
bunker and plays WarioWare with the robots for a few nights until
Oh
they
my
get
God.
bored of not killing him and fix that. I'm
Oh.
not sure if the other fun times are possessed or not. I've always just worked under the assumption that on top of state-of-the-art robotics, Afton was also able to make sentient machines. Regardless of if there's a dead kid inside them or not, the fun times,
So-
Baby,
That
Ballora,
right there
Foxy,
is
and
actually
Freddy
answered
lure
in the
Michael in.
books a little bit.
Right there is what?
The whole question whether or not some of the fun time animatronics were haunted or not is kind of answered in the books.
Oh.
So essentially, this scooper machine right here has a remnant extractor in it. So it actually injects remnant into the fun time animatronic.
Creepy.
But in the book, in the Silver Eyes trilogy books, they show William Afton actually melting down the original Freddy's animatronics, the Endo 01s, where the original 5 kids were killed in, or 4 of them. But he melts the endoskeletons down, takes a syringe, scoops it up with the syringe, and puts
Creepy.
the molten metal into Funtime Freddy in the book.
Creepy. Anyway, the original genre combines something called innards. It basically is going down. Okay, so Michael originally tried burning down all the Fazbear's things for obvious reasons.
Into a scooping room where they rip out all of his guts in order
Oh.
to pilot him like a fleshy Gundam.
Oh.
He walking down the street, all his neighbors outside waving to his ass. What's
Oh.
up, Mike? What's up, Michael? Hey. They ready the next day, he looks a little green.
Oh.
Next day, look.
Oh.
Next day, oh my
Basically
god.
becoming a freaking walking corpse.
Yeah, what the hell? Poor guy, this is Michael. What the hell's happening to him?
So basically his flesh is like decaying.
Oh.
That's how he
After a
ends
while,
up turning
Ennard,
colors.
as they now call themselves, forces Michael to vomit them up so
Ennard.
they can escape into the sewers. Then,
But
because of
Look, we have
Remnant
it.
and
Still
Baby's boo-boo,
What?
yeah. So because of Remnant and all that, Michael is still alive.
Well,
kisses,
this
Michael's
seems like the
Yeah,
worst part
it's
of
like
hell.
a mixture of Remnant. Yeah, it's like a mixture of Remnant and his own spirit taking over his body.
Oh,
cleansed
wonderful.
3 bars of supers to resurrect
What?
and is now alive again. Keep in mind that he is missing almost all of his internal organs as they were ripped out of
Yeah.
him and will now go on for the next half century as a man with purple skin and the scent of death. Michael
Wonderful.
swears to find his father after all the nonsense he just got put through and hopefully kill him.
Hopefully.
This leads us to
He got a
Five
lot
Nights
of
at
boo-boo
Freddy's
kisses,
2.
Mac.
While
my
Michael's been
God.
busy getting turbo-fucked by animatronics in William's bunker, Freddy's itself has seen a brand new wave of success thanks to the toy animatronics, except
Oh,
for Mangle, who
wonderful.
is garbage that they keep in a room for kids to rip apart. This is also the same location where the puppets stuffed all those kids into those animatronics. So
Of course
keep
it
that
is.
in mind. Michael decides this is the perfect place to start looking for his deadbeat
Oh,
dad
great.
so he can give him a choke slam for once. Except William isn't there. He's in prison. On what
Okay.
charges? Back with Afton, after powerbombing a few more children and kicking a dog to death with his car, he ends up getting sloppy and is
Wow.
caught in the middle of all the child murdering. They don't quite know how he did it, but by night 6, they totally know he was using the spring Bonnie suit they had saved in the back. All
Alright.
the animatronics realize that he had been there the entire time and start going haywire, which leads to Mangle getting startled and biting somebody at the birthday party the next day.
Oh,
Now
the
this
bite of
is the
87.
bite of 1987, the infamous bite of 87. What's the significance? Who was it inflicted upon? Why have we cared about this story detail for the past 9 real years?
Yeah.
God, I wish I knew. Oh, and as for Fritz Smith being the guy who handles custom night, it's just Michael and a mustache dude. Keep up. So
Oh.
Afton's in jail,
Okay.
Michael's running around as a zombie, and Elizabeth is having issues. See, she's part of the super clique known as Ennard, but the rest of Ennard is
What?
having some real
By the
issues
way-
with her.
FNAF 1, you're playing as Michael Afton 2.
Oh, wonderful.
Bringing
Yeah,
Michael back
the majority of all the Five Nights at Freddy's games, you're basically playing as Michael Afton.
was a big no-no
After
since they
Cisco
wanted
vacation, pretty much.
Yeah.
him dead, and Baby suffers for it by getting kicked out of the group. Now
Wait.
as a zombie, and Elizabeth is having issues.
Okay.
See, she's part of the super clique known as Ennard, but the rest of Ennard is having some real issues with her. Bringing Michael back was a big no-no since they wanted him dead, and Baby suffers for it by getting kicked out of the group.
So they So wait, all the others wanted Michael dead? Why? That's very confusing. What is it, Fable?
It's not that they wanted. It's not. Oh, you got ahead, Fable.
I just want to say this: the timeline for FNAF is very convoluted, a little confusing, and at this point, I honestly don't know if Scott even knows what he's doing anymore.
A little confusing.
It's just I feel like the more he tries to explain it, the more convoluted and confusing it is.
Yeah.
And it's just I think it literally just got to the point where it just got so out of hand and became so big. He's just going with the flow at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that sounds
pretty
about
much.
right.
See, when the first game came out, it's surprising how much people don't really know about this, but he was actually making games before Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh, I know.
Five Nights at Freddy's is not his first game, but they were all failures. And the reason why Five Nights at Freddy's came to being is because one of his games, Chipper and Sons or something like that, people were saying that his characters look like animatronics.
And they look creepy. Yeah, so he went, yes, you're right. And then he went to do an idea with that.
Yeah.
I know.
And this was basically his last chance at making a game. So that's why a lot of the shit that goes on in these games seems kind of convoluted, because he didn't really have a real plan for the story, because he was thinking, oh, I'm just going to make Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and if it flops, well, I'm done making video games.
Alright.
One more thing. The book series and the games are in completely different universes.
Oh.
They are, but
Yeah.
the books are supposed to help solve for the games in a way.
It's kind of hard to do because, the books get weird, really weird.
Okay.
Now a large amount of time passes as we get to Five Nights at Freddy's 1.
Wonderful.
Hey welcome to the first Five Nights at Freddy's game. How are you doing? Shut up! So Fazbear Entertainment has taken whatever they can of the previous animatronics that don't visibly have blood on their hands and have spit-shined them for a new generation.
Wonderful.
Now, since the withered animatronics are the basic animatronics, that means that fixing them up involved looking inside of them, seeing the ooey-gooey years-old child guts, and saying, damn, that sucks, and then closing them back up and sending them out to dance.
Sounds like very corporate stuff, so probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
The yoinky sploinky Freddy, it doesn't matter if you didn't get a childhood. So despite being
God.
the first game in the entire series, timeline-wise this thing is worthless. Nothing of any note happens in the game itself, in its Easter eggs, in anything. Sure, the phone guy dies, but that's just the vaunted some guy who happened to work at Freddy's for a long time. The most interesting thing to go over is why everybody hates Michael so much. Fun times, on site, wizards, on site, toys, on site. Why do all these animatronics want to beat him up? Simple, really. He's William Afton's son, and in the warped minds of tormented spirits, it's pretty likely they'll mistake him for the genuine article, seeing as he's a blood relative.
Yeah.
Oh, and just to make it clear, Michael is physically purple. William's just morally purple. So after getting fired over smelling bad because we're a corpse, William manages to get out of jail and is eager to get back to work on the whole remnant thing. However, he's kind of out of remnant sources by this point. The only place left is in the basic animatronics. So once the place is shut down again, Afton worms his way back in and manages to disassemble the animatronics one by one. This is where a lot of people try to peg sister location as happening post FNAF 1 since he's using their remnant for the fun times, except he never really gets that far. I don't think he's gonna go back night after night and risk being caught doing more crimes, so he's gonna do it all in one trip. And if that trip ends with him getting murdered, he's not gonna have a chance to bring it back to his lab and make a bunch more animatronics out of it. We know that Baby had to have been made early on so it could kill his kid, so it only makes sense the rest would be made around the same time. There's just no way to make it make sense, but there's no way to make sister location make sense, so all's fair there. Besides, why would he go back there for the 5th night if he got everything he needed from the other 4 animatronics? Is he just gonna piss on some stuff out of spite? His plan works dandy until he's finally cornered by the ghosts of all the children as they jump Afton as he's cornered trying to collect all the remnant. He has a really good idea of hiding in the Springlock suit. No, I mean it. Only problem was he put the whole suit on, which forcibly acupunctures him to not death.
There's one animatronic he didn't get during this whole thing. And that's Golden Freddy. That would have been the last animatronic he would have went back to go get. If he was going back and forth.
Dirk manages to stay alive through sheer force of Violet for the next 30 years! 30 years pass before anybody finds this guy. A guy who was convicted for child murder. And when they do find him, you know who does it? The least important voiced character of the whole franchise. Let's rewind a bit. If we want to be fair, this 30-year time gap is more likely when Baby got kicked out of Ennard, but I wanted to put it earlier so I could see what it feels like to be wrong, which I haven't been at any point previously in this or any video. Oh, and if you think that sister location should go here instead of all the way back in the past, no, I do too, but it doesn't make much more sense. Michael has been blowing bubbles with his spit for 30 years, but when news of a new Fazbear attraction opening reaches him, you know he was in there like a rat up a drain pipe. Fazbear Frights is that one local fair that has a John Wayne Gacy-themed escape room that gets national coverage for how bad taste it is. The attraction sucks because they forgot to get an animatronic before they opened it, but luckily they were able to find one and didn't even have to worry about the obvious corpse inside. Remember when I said that FNAF people can't see a corpse even if it's spitting in their face? Well, aside from Michael being walking, talking proof of that, Springtrap is housing William Afton's probably dead body, and now he's trying to run you down because you just have such a hateable face. On top of that, you're attacked the whole night by illusions of old animatronics that show up when you're low on oxygen. This is kind of the reason I said Michael has to be the guard in FNAF 2, but still be a corpse, because he hallucinates exclusively FNAF 2 characters, save for Chica, so he has to have an idea of what Mangle, Balloon Boy, Puppet, and the Wizards look like. I really wanted to put FNAF 2 in a pre-sister location time frame so that you could have William calling Michael to go to the bunker from prison, but would you have guessed that sister location made my life harder? So Michael decides the only way to keep his old man down is with pyromania, as he uses the building's faulty wiring as an excuse to torch the place and kill his dad.
Hello, Daisy.
This doesn't work, and according to this useless book I bought, it transforms him into Dark Springtrap. Dark Springtrap is Springtrap, seconds before collapsing, you see. Springtrap ain't the only one kicking around here, since over the course of the nights you can do mini-games that help free the souls of the 5 dead kids that anybody actually cares to name. Can somebody explain what I'm doing exactly? The fact I'm actively doing something to help means that I'm freeing the kids' souls on purpose, but I can't figure out how hitting the wall like a number pad and touching plush animals helps, but as long as the children rest in peace, I'll help. I'm just joking, nobody involved in FNAF will ever know peace. Now, someone who's been woefully absent from the story, as long as you don't count FNAF World, and don't count FNAF World, dummy, is Henry. If you do count FNAF World, Henry is fucking dead. Well, it turns out that he's been hatching a plan in the background. It starts out with a new animatronic named Lefty, who was designed to capture and contain the puppet.
Oh, I'm sorry, Daisy. You can always join in.
It's basically a modified Rockstar Freddy with a microphone that plays the same music as the music box from FNAF 2 to keep his daughter calm while she's trapped. Oh yeah, by the way, the Rockstars aren't haunted, they're just having fun. Part 2 of the plan is collecting all of Afton's old blueprints so he can engineer a way to get the spirits out of the animatronics. Turns out Michael was on the right path, as fire is the perfect thing to do it. Final step of the plan was to build a brand new pizzeria and hire some schmuck to maintain it until everybody he's after congregates in one place. This leads into Pizzeria Simulator, where Michael throws himself at another Freddy's location in an attempt to finally superkick his stupid dad. Michael wasn't supposed to get the job, but whatever, he probably needs to die too. Over the course of the night,
Honestly,
Henry instructs
he
you to
needs to be put
salvage
to rest.
animatronics he needs, including Scrap Baby, the result of Baby having to rough it on her own for anywhere from 5 to 30 years, Molten Freddy, Worse Entered, Lefty, the thing I mentioned earlier, and Scrap Trap.
Oh.
Yep. So, at some point between achieving Dark, Springtrap, and falling over dead a few seconds later, William opened up his suit and dumped his remains into a newer, even shittier rabbit suit.
Wonderful.
Those remains, by the way, were little more than a head,
I don't
a
think he
few
actually
rotting
does all
ligaments,
that,
and his
but
bone.
It's more so if the Springtrap suit is like even more decayed.
Wonderful.
Lungs, which now hop around in a walking junkyard. Night after night, Michael releases more of these things into the pizzeria he's looking after until Henry reveals not only is he also in the building, but that it's about to go up in flames.
Wonderful.
He apologizes to everybody for what he has to do and hopes that this will finally give them peace. Except for Afton, he really wants him to go to hell. And go to hell he does. Not.
Oh.
Yep.
I have been on the
Get
side.
away.
Oh, wonderful.
Ultimate custom night.
The Springtrap suit basically mixed with his flesh, basically he has bones stuck in and out stuff. Yeah. People really can't see corpses in this world.
Ultimate Custom Night being William Afton in hell ever since the game came out. It just lines up too well, but to make anything else make sense, we have to say that Golden Freddy is keeping him in a nightmare coma, which is stupid, but whatever. Oh, trust me, you haven't seen stupid yet. Afton gets rug burns and wet willies from animatronics for the rest of time, and that's the end of the Five Nights at Freddy's storyline.
We hoped.
Now that we're all on the same page for where my gripes with these games come from, it's time to get a little more into the nitty-gritty of what I take umbrage with. But talking about Five Nights at Freddy's so much is enough to make anybody want to quit. So to counterbalance, I'm gonna do something I enjoy. Yeah, I'm making a pizza. And just like my theory crafting, my pizza making is not up for scrutiny. So a bunch of people are probably fuming over the timeline I've just put together. And rightly so, I'm probably wrong. I mean, it's common knowledge at this point that the crying child from Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is actually a very young William Afton and the game takes place in 1883.
Really?
It's just that simple. All right, let's try this one on for size.
I have no idea if he was making a joke or not, because that's how weird these stories. I have no idea if he was.
I think he was just making a joke there.
That's the problem with these games. I just don't know.
You can't. Guess why? Because
That was a
nobody
joke.
can. When I was buying this worthless paperweight made of paper, people were telling me, no, no, no. Here's a perfect comprehensive timeline for Five Nights at Freddy's. And you want to know where they put the events of Sister Location? Nowhere. Even the most community-trusted sources don't know where this game goes. Sister Location was partially made as a response to the idea that Five Nights at Freddy's had gotten too samey, and so threw out almost all the pre-established iconography to make a whole new location and story. Now that story ended up being the exact same story before we even got to the start screen, but whatever.
Of course it was.
That new setting, though, created so many problems, namely the fun times. Funtime animatronics have endoskeletons that are made of wires instead of regular steel, have the ability to replicate human voices, dispense ice cream, murder children, all of this. And they existed back in the 80s. Not just at any point in the 80s, though. These things existed at a point before the next most technologically advanced animatronics, the toys. The technology of Sister Location being so advanced makes sense for the 5th entry in the series, but not for where it may or may not end up on the timeline. Regardless of if you think Sister Location happens before 2, after 1, during 4, Baby existing means the technology has to have been made somewhere in the 80s. I say the game takes place around FNAF 2, but even then, I'm not satisfied with that answer since it places the technology so early on. But let's say that the fun times are constructed in a more technologically advanced time. Yeah, the early 90s. That means the game has to happen before Afton gets got by ghosts, because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to call Michael. And let's say that he does get all of his remnant, make the fun times, and go back to get his dick smashed. This still means it happens around 1993. We're still in a pre-Bop It world!
Pre-Bop It?
You can put this game wherever you want on the timeline and get the same results. It makes some things make sense, but it's not perfect. It's not just the fun times, though. Everything about Sister Location launches the series into a direction it never recovered from. FNAF
Yeah.
suddenly went from an intimate and gross story about a killer hacking his way through a preschool's worth of children into a science fiction story. That's most obviously seen in Remnant. Has anything ever not gotten
What the
over
hell
as
is
much
Remnant?
as Remnant? No one likes it, and moreover, no one seems to
Basically
understand
Soul
it.
Juice.
I've asked
Oh.
multiple people with an encyclopedic
From metal.
knowledge of FNAF
Like, it's
a
like
simple
souls
question.
attached to metal in
Can
a
you
sense.
carry Remnant in a
wonderful.
bucket? And everybody has given me a different exasperated grunt as an
But
answer.
it's also
The best it's
powered
been
by
described to
the,
me is that
strong
it's
emotion
intense
of
emotion,
agony.
a human soul, and metal all mixed together, which leads to possession. I get why something like Remnant was introduced,
So
because the
metal,
longer the
basically.
series went on, the more popular it got with children, and the more popular
What?
it gets with children, the harder it is to reckon with the fact that the mascots are filled with child corpses.
Yeah.
Remnant fixes that, but in explaining how it works down to a science, it stops
takes
being
away
interesting.
the
You don't need to
mystique.
explain ghosts. Remnant
Yeah.
just feels like an explanation that nobody asked for, which is more complicated than anybody wanted.
Yeah.
That science also circles back around to William Afton. In a pre-sister location world, Afton was a psychotic child murderer with loosely defined motives, which honestly made him scarier. The fear of the unknown will always endure, and having no idea why someone's doing the things they're doing makes them the best type of
Balloon
unpredictable.
Boys fighting.
Sister Location made him Dr. Wily. He's building murder robots because killing children gets boring and he had to outsource it. And instead of
yeah.
doing what he's doing because he's a horrible monster, now he's a horrible monster who's doing it so he can experiment with Remnant in order to...
I don't know.
Some people say bring his children back, but that's far too noble a goal for somebody who's on child murder number 12.
Yeah.
Even all this time later, so deep into the series, no one can really tell you what Afton's goal is. We know
Yeah.
why he started killing kids, but he clearly has a new goal ever since he started collecting Remnant. We just don't know what it is. And unlike before, where explaining him made him less scary, explaining this would make him less ridiculous. Just because you reveal a killer's motives doesn't automatically mean he's not scary, but there's an irreversible shift that a character takes when their motivations go from because I enjoy murdering children to I want to become immortal. You go from serial killer scary to Skeletor scary. William Afton just isn't scary or interesting anymore, and as the series goes on, he goes from scary to stupid to outright laughable. When we saw the trailer for Five Nights at Freddy's 3 that says he always comes back, that wasn't a stinger, that was a threat. FNAF 3 Springtrap to FNAF 6 Scraptrap is such a fall from grace that just gets worse and worse every time you see what latest summer fashion he's modeling. So it may sound like I'm just harping on Sister Location because it's the worst one, but what about the rest of the series?
Okay.
Well, across all the other games, I don't really have as much to talk about since the cracks really started showing in Sister Location, and
Really?
Pizzeria Simulator did its best to spackle those cracks. But that doesn't mean I don't have a few other smaller complaints. Welcome to our brand new reoccurring segment, things in FNAF that were set up as big deals but don't mean crap.
Really?
Number 1, Chica is a goddamn liar. I have a theory that whichever child possessed Chica is a compulsive fibber because every time she opens her squawk hole, something dumb happens. Exhibit A, what's going on with Chica's beak in Five Nights at Freddy's 4? During a Game Theory live stream, Scott started updating his
that's
website
what
with cryptic
started
messages.
the whole Dream Theory debacle with the FNAF community, and people were hating that.
To respond to the stream, including such statements.
Well, no one likes to find out that everything was a dream unless it's more eldritch than that.
Yeah.
Because if everything's a dream, then nothing matters.
There's 4 games, 1 story.
Yeah.
I sure hope it would be. One of the messages posited, why was Chica missing her beak in the Five Nights at
Would
Freddy's
make
4
sense.
minigame?
For Dream Theory, because of how trippy everything was.
What could that possibly mean? It means that her beak, it comes off. Fast forward to Ultimate Custom Night, and with her Chica decides to throw out the haymaker that she was the first and has seen everything. Oh, so the kid stuffed inside Chica was the first one that Afton killed. Okay, that's wrong. The puppet is the first one that he kills because That's the one that stuffs them in the Chica suit. Unless this is the animatronic Chica talking about how she was the first one built, but that's not something that any possessed animatronic does throughout the entire franchise. But like I said, lies come so naturally to this devil bird's forked tongue. The bite of 87. The fandom worked itself up into a right tizzy over this one, trying to figure out who it was and when it happened, what it means, and how it relates to the larger story. To answer those questions in order, Mangle 1987, nothing and it doesn't. And what about that box? If I'm being honest, I have no idea what to even say about the box that hasn't been...
The whole thing with the bite of 87, I don't think it was ever going to be that important to the story, honestly. It was more so the fans making it more important than it should have been, honestly.
Maybe. Fans do that sometimes.
Been said before. The series has evolved so far past the box that bringing it up as irrelevant feels irrelevant. We can also get up in arms about how Mangle's arm clips into the vents in FNAF.
Something important because it was supposed to be all the pieces put together inside the box.
To
tell the story. But Scott decided against that altogether and just said, fuck it. It's just going to be the whole freaking map of Pizzeria Simulator that's going to trap everybody inside of it and burn the whole fucking place to the ground.
Well then.
Oh.
But both feel just about as
burning shit to the ground.
Pretty much.
As the other. I think it's best to copy Scott on this one and just forget the box ever happened. Now, if the series ended where it should have ended, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. We'd be playing open season on GameCube like God intended. If we were only so lucky. So Ultimate Custom Night was the perfect love letter to the franchise, having all the animatronics, locations, Easter egg, lying birds, and most importantly, William Afton in hell. I mean, Henry says as much in Pizzeria Simulator, Old Man Consequences says leave the demon to his demons, all signs point down, but no. Golden Freddy, the selfish prick, has decided they're the one who should not have been killed and has conscripted the rest of the dead kids to torment William Afton in a never-ending nightmare. That's all well and good until eventually Fazbear Entertainment finds the Pizzeria Simulator location and collects bits of Scraptrap. Since Willie's remnant is all over the stuff, he manages to possess individual pieces of the Scraptrap suit. Fazbear Entertainment wants all this junk because they're good.
So he was originally being tortured by the kids forever until someone found the Scraptrap suit and took bits of him and is using it for something.
Yeah, you're about to find out what it was.
Gonna use it to create a VR game to clear their public image. Things are about to get real sloppy real quick when it comes to the distinction between Five Nights at Freddy's the video game and Five Nights at Freddy's the in-universe video game.
Wonderful.
See, Fazbear is well aware of their status as an assisted suicide facility and is making strides to cover it up. That status is thanks to rumors that have been perpetuated by a rogue game developer who created the Five Nights at Freddy's games in both our universe and the Five Nights at Freddy's universe. Does that make sense? The correct answer is no. In order to fight back against these allegations and present the real story, Fazbear Entertainment is creating a video game all about reliving all the horrible things that have happened at their restaurants.
Wow.
The phrase "too stupid to live" comes to mind.
Yeah.
So the team making FNAF VR in FNAF VR were under a tight budget and very strict constraints. In order to cut corners, they end up using code and technology from the original Scraptrap suit to help code an actual murderer into the game.
What?
They end up coding an actual murderer into the game. Slick Willie's back at it again, but he's still stuck inside the computer. I think it's important to mention how Golden Freddy's plan of keeping William Afton trapped in hell forever failed, and how this cutscene is not Golden Freddy twitching off into the darkness. No, this is William Afton flipping the double bird as he moonwalks out of hell and leaves dozens of souls not laid to rest.
Wonderful. Let's see, I'm not gonna lie, the original
I would have never interpreted it that way.
Well, I'm glad you at least enjoy them, Lynx.
The first 5 dead kids, the second 5 dead kids, Charlotte, Michael, Crying Child, Funny Frog, all left to rot. So
wonderful.
Afton's back to suplexing kids, but only in Fortnite. He's gotta find a way to become a real boy again. That's when game tester Jeremy comes into the picture. Afton's new alter ego Glitchtrap starts to appear to Jeremy every time he plays the game, becoming more and more real every time he sees him. Jerbear realizes that something real spooky's going on and tries to tell everybody, but since they're all under such a crunch, they decide to ignore him. That's
Of
when
course.
fellow playtester Vanessa finds Jeremy having factory reset himself in the supply closet with a paper cutter.
Oh.
Vanessa goes to tell her higher-ups that the game is haunted as fuck, only to find
Yeah.
them already trying to cover up the fact that Jeremy died.
Oh,
if
wonderful.
that wasn't bad enough, it turns out the rogue game developer was actually somebody who worked for Fazbear's, and the game served as a way to make all the deaths look like hoaxes.
Oh.
Since Jeremy died, that leaves Vanessa as the only person left who can test the game. She really doesn't want to do it, but with the job market being the way it is, she decides it's better to work for a murderer than to work for Bass Pro. Eventually, though, Glitchtrap is able to escape the game in Vanessa's head. First order of business is get this girl a bunny suit. She's like the daughter he never had. For very long.
Yep.
So thanks to the success of FNAF VR
Oh,
and
there's
FNAF
Markiplier.
AR, which is a phone game, and I'm not letting Freddy
Phone
Fazbear
game?
know where I live, Fazbear Entertainment is back in the green.
Yeah, there
now
was a
they've
mobile
got so
game
much
for a
money they
while.
can afford
It
to
was
open an
cheap.
entire pizzaplex for the franchise's big return. A return that Vanessa is incredibly interested in, as she gets
Of
a
course
job
she
as a
is.
night guard for all the good work she did as a tester. Within the next week, 9 more children go missing.
Oh, wow,
Vanessa tries to
surprising.
get therapy to get the bunny man out of her head, but as soon as somebody gets too close to figuring out that she has lost her marbles, Afton has her kill them. Unlike
Wonderful.
Vanessa's rapidly deteriorating mental state, though, the Pizzaplex is doing good, as they have a brand new band featuring Freddy and Chica, as well as newcomers Roxy and Montgomery. There used to be a Bonnie too, but the AI used in these things is so advanced that it can get jealous, as Montgomery beat Bonnie to death to take his spot in the band.
Oh.
That's never directly stated in-game, but it's dumb enough for me to want to mention.
Oh.
Things are going about as terrible as they usually do until Freddy shuts down in the middle of a performance on stage. He reboots in safe mode and is pregnant with Gregory, a small child. In a book, it's implied that he's working with Vanessa and betrayed her just like Rick the Model Martel did to Tito Santana at WrestleMania 5.
What?
If your brain didn't shut down as soon as I
Fucking
said
with
book and
Gregory.
start back up when I said Tito Santana, you're not
Wow.
using your brain right. So because child murder is lame, Gregory decides to put a stop to it and rides around in Freddy since it's the first time you can be inside of an animatronic without having been murdered. From there, security breach happens, and in the ending, no not that one, Freddy and Greggy descend into the bowels of the Pizzaplex after having defeated every other animatronic and stealing their parts. What did
Alright.
I say about this just being Mega Man? Going deeper and deeper, and we get the basement of bad ideas, like how the Pizzaplex was built on top of the Pizzeria Simulator
Wow.
location, there's a giant blob of all the other animatronics, and William Afton manages to resurrect himself. Oh, I know someone's gonna bring it up, so let's just nip this in the bud. Technically, it's an AI reconstruction of Afton possessing his dead body. I also ate all my vegetables and mowed the lawn, Dad. It shows that Henry don't know nothing about nothing because I burned this man down to his protons and he's still kicking.
Yeah.
After setting the whole place on fire, the blob comes back and attempts to kill Afton, but his spirit manages to overpower it as he takes control of the blob. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm so certain it will, I'll treat it as fact. There's
Right.
been no worthwhile addition to this franchise since 2017. Okay, let's get the big
Okay.
one out of the way first. They took the best part of all of these games, the ending to FNAF 6, and ruined it.
Oh.
Pizzeria Simulator's ending is one of finality and acceptance, casting everything into fire and burning the whole of the character's misery into
Everybody
ash.
didn't
Let's
because I was
count where
cooking.
everybody actually ended up. Sure.
Wait, did you ban the bot? Wait, there was a bot in there? Well, I didn't see a bot, so you probably did.
Charlotte, who was the puppet, is currently suffering in the afterlife because her killer is still running free. Elizabeth, depending on how much of her is left in the charred remains of Baby, is currently stuck inside of the blob. Molten Freddy, who was just a mess of wires in a robot mask, makes up the majority of the blob. And Henry's grand plan to kill Afton failed. The only person he managed to kill was himself! And of course, William Afton is back, which means that all the
Of
good
course.
work that was done in Pizzeria Simulator to end things was undone. This was when I finally quit FNAF cold turkey. What
Makes
was the
sense.
point of staying invested if Afton's just gonna keep coming back over and over like Bowser? And
Yeah.
since Afton's a walking go-away heat magnet, that dragged down an actually interesting character by osmosis. Doing the research necessary for this video actually gave me a
So
real
basically,
appreciation
the
for
Burn
Vanessa
Trap
as a
ending is
character.
Not the true ending of Security Breach.
What'd you say?
I said the Burn Trap ending that we just saw there. That is not the true ending of Security Breach.
Of course it isn't.
Yeah, there's multiple endings, but the actual true ending that is supposedly canon is what they call the Princess Quest ending. where you actually free Vanessa from the Glitchtrap mind virus, and they actually end up going back because they learned about a mimic AI program, which is what Glitchtrap actually is.
Hmm.
That's a whole can of beans for another time, but yeah.
She's complicated, tragic, and most of all feels real. None of that really matters though when the series just positions her as Afton's grunt. Instead of letting a new villain shepherd the franchise for a little bit, they fell back into Afton's arms as soon as they let him go. I think it would be a lot more interesting if instead of being possessed by William Afton, she was just inspired by the myth that Fazbear Entertainment is perpetuating by making the VR game. It's not unrealistic to say that someone was inspired by a serial killer, and it throws the blame back on Fazbear for keeping William alive, not through magic mumbo-jumbo, but because they won't let his story go. But the problems with Vanessa extend way further than what I've just said, and that leads us to Vanny. For the years and years leading up to Security Breach, the developers would egg fans on by saying, "Who is this Vanny character?" It's Vanessa. She's stalking the Pizzaplex. Who could it be? It could be Vanessa, because it is. Who knows who this madman could be? We could, if you told us it was Vanessa, because it is. Let me be a nerd for a second and compare this to another disappointment, Batman Arkham Knight. In the game's marketing, they hyped up the Arkham Knight as a brand new character with info on Batman and a bone to pick. 20 seconds after the character's reveal, and people said, yeah, it's probably Jason Todd.
Yeah, quite literally, I went to my Batman friend who knows everything about Batman, and I asked her who she thinks this is, and she's like, it's probably Jason Todd. Quite literally.
Oh, Jason Todd.
To be honest, if you tell me there's a Batman game and the Joker's involved, and there's literally a Robin, everyone's just gonna assume it's Jason. Like, there's no way in hell. Even if you're not like an avid Batman fan, you're gonna know it's Jason somehow or another.
Yeah. Like, they, even in later on, they made it very clear it's obviously Jason because they went and did the whole scene with the crowbar.
Right.
Despite that, the devs denied it up until the game's release, where
it's just Jason.
Yeah.
Surprise! It's Jason Todd. Who could have guessed? Well, me, my friend Owen, the guy at McDonald's, and everybody else on planet Earth. Mysteries like this, where the answer is so obvious, are inherently frustrating, because while the game treats it like it's a grand reveal, you solved the puzzle hours ago. The reveal itself is all the more unsatisfying because you really think we couldn't figure this one out? All right, Poindexter, you make the equation make sense. Instead of building up a twist that wouldn't have fooled a 5-year-old, you could have spent more time developing both sides of Vanessa. Not that you would have had much time considering she's a non-factor in her own debut game. Oh, but FNAF has traumatized us all to the point that an answer so simple couldn't possibly be correct, and people have devised any and all theory to deny the most obvious answer the series has ever given.
Also, isn't, like, Freddy in this, what was his name, Michael or something?
No. To be honest, the Freddy in this, actually none of the animatronics are actually possessed in it.
Oh.
She's a robot. She has a twin sister.
It's basically the AI program going haywire, and the reason why Freddy's not affected is because he got rebooted into safe mode. Which protected him from the virus.
Alright.
I just want to say this though, Monty's a dick, so I think he's just doing it because he wants to. I don't think he's like even hacked into. He's just a dick.
He is kind of a dick, yeah.
And I think it was so agonizing, like, oh, it's not Red Hood as the dev says as the devs that they just retold Red Hood's comic book but made him a different character. Pretty much.
She's the reincarnation of Elizabeth, which is the worst one. All of these are attempts to make mountains out of...
Yeah, making mountains out of hills.
Well, why isn't there blood when Freddy spears Vanny off the top of the Pizzaplex? Because the game is rated T and you can't have her explode into viscera and still make Funko Pops of it. I honestly can't believe this is an argument that happens. It feels so pointless, especially when you have so much else to complain about. How do you build a mall on top of an intact, burnt-down pizzeria? Better question, how does a pizzeria burn into the ground? That's not even a thematic problem, it's more a that's not how fire works problem.
Yeah.
If it's a sinkhole, why would you build a mall on top of a
Sinkhole.
sinkhole? We also rigged the foundation to explode just in case. I'm sorry, but Fazbear Entertainment still being around is way past unreasonable.
Yeah.
Action Park had like 5 people die at it, and now it's a synonym for death. Fazbear's has had at
I
least
mean, a lot of people got injured at Action Park, and a lot of people died.
Lawyers. Really good lawyers.
Yeah, Action Park's a whole thing.
a baker's dozen worth of child murders and employees getting ripped in half like phone books, and they keep coming back.
Yeah.
What the hell is the blob? Remnant? I really hope that Freddy isn't possessed by Michael. The
That's
game
what I thought it
hardcore
was.
implies that when Freddy gets to the FNAF 6 location because it's where his charred dead body is.
Yeah.
But imagine what a spit in the eye it would be if this poor guy was a zombie for 40 years and then finally got to rest. He wakes up and realizes,
What the hell? I'm not even Foxy.
moreover, a lot of people say that Gregory and Vanessa are robot versions of Elizabeth and the
What?
Crying Child, which means that the three main characters are just a big old Afton jamboree.
Oh,
Afton
hell.
trying to sculpt Vanessa into Elizabeth is a lot more interesting, but people are convinced there's not a single human character in this entire franchise.
Yeah.
As for Gregory, I don't know if this evidence is permissible in court, Your Honor, but there's cut dialogue that shows instead of Freddy saying Gregory is broken, he says that he's bleeding. Everybody points
Oh.
to this line as proof that Gregory is a robot, but that clearly wasn't the original intention. And
Yeah.
if you think that going off cut dialogue isn't fair, we've been doing this since FNAF 2. We know that going into the source files is a way to find out information.
Yeah.
How is Afton in better shape now after being burned to death? Twice? I know you can say
Which-
Vanny used Bonnie parts to fix him up, but why does he still look like garbage? Did Vanny accidentally set the parts on fire before using them, or was that on purpose to make it feel more like home?
Oh
If
my
Afton
God.
can infect whatever machine he wants, why does he want his old body back? It's a shambling corpse. Why not get somebody with working joints? Why does the daycare attendant have a murder mode? You
Yeah.
can levy all the criticism you want against
Why is
security
that a
breach
thing?
for its gameplay or lack of polish, but for me, the
Why the
story is what I
DRK
come
one
to a
that
FNAF
everyone
game
freaks
for
one
above
out?
all else.
He's the
Not
freakiest
only is
one.
this game's a mess, I know that going forward it's only gonna get worse.
Oh, it definitely
I
is.
have never felt less excited to be a fan of this franchise, and I hope that the developers can make something good out of the upcoming DLC.
There's
They've
DLC?
shown they can make good
yeah.
new original
Yeah.
content in
The
Vanessa,
ruined
and I
DLC.
wish they would go more in that direction instead
Oh,
of
they
falling
could
back
with
to
the
what
ruined
worked
DLC. The
before.
ruined
I
DLC
hope
is
this
really good.
series can find what
Ooh,
made it so
pizza.
good in the first place, and if it can't,
It's a little pizza, but
I
yeah.
hope the people that enjoy the new stuff can enjoy more of it. If it's not for me anymore, that's fine.
And yeah, there's the... Oh yeah, for this episode he was showing off the Fright Furs fable.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
He said, "Son of
All
I
right,
hate
guys,
them. I
brand
hate
new
those
gen-
cards.
I know, he hates... Yeah, he hates them because they're attached to the Fluffle cards.
The only way to get them is to literally combine, I think, like scissors or whatever the hell with
Combine
the
them.
fluffles, and I hate it.
Yeah, the Edge Imps.
Yeah, like you literally have to combine scissors with them, and it turns them into ugly monsters. I downright hate it.
I thought they were cute.
Or ground or Chrono, I'm sorry. I never wanted to ground you. I'm okay with grounding mech, but never you.
I think they're just oddly cute.
Challenge. If we
What
can
have you
get
done
to
to him,
one
man?
view
Come
on
on,
this
God.
video, I'll never talk about FNAF again.
Oh, if I get one view on this video, I'll never talk about FNAF again.
Get 368,000 views.
Yeah, what did you think of that?
So, Matt,
But
I actually liked it.
we're actually getting
They
no
probably
new
got it wrong,
FNAF.
but yeah,
we're getting
it's
another
not,
one.
it's not really my season.
Yeah, we're actually getting another FNAF game. I think it's called
Oh,
Secret
yeah.
of the Mimic or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep, Secret of the Mimic.
Yeah, and
Of course.
apparently the fucking
It's kinda-
character design is like it's literally a jester named Jackie, and everyone's going crazy because she looks adorable according to them.
Huh. Oh,
So,
that's that
basically,
one
it's
character
going
that
back
I've
in the
seen
timeline
everywhere.
Yeah,
Eee.
it's basically a Jack in the Box, but it's a female Jack. So Jackie.
Yep, and Scott accidentally referenced the fan-made song, and then everyone was memeing on him.
Is that really such a bad thing?
No, it's not. It's just everyone.
Oh.
I don't know. The internet has a habit of memeing on people when silly things like that happen.
Alright.
Yeah.
Well, once again, thank you all so much, and we'll see you all later. Have a good day, everyone.